Hey everyone, welcome to Betsperts Golf, the BMW Championship. I am Ryan Noonan, and I am flying solo today. Andy's on vacation. Producer Dan on vacation. Who takes vacation, first of all, in August? It's like the golf playoffs and football's about to start. I know their workloads, like mine for football season, are very heavy, and maybe that's why. But yeah, I am going to fly solo. We'll do it a little bit different here today, talking to BMW. Obviously, we are the penultimate event of the season in terms of golf betting. We'll be here. We'll talk East Lake for the Tour Championship next week, but we know the situation there. Betting that event is a little bit difficult because of the way that they started. You can obviously bet without the adjusted scores. It's just not as fun. This is kind of our last shot at anything that really resembles a full field golf tournament. And we're doing a little bit different today. Talk about the course, and then I'm going to walk through and build a model using our customizable golf stat tool database that we have on Betsperts Golf, which is part of a premium subscription. But we will talk here at the top about the course. Olympia Fields Country Club here in my neck of the woods is a major style golf course. I'm luckily I'm going to be there. I'll be there this weekend. I'm probably going to go tomorrow as well. Have some access to that and excited to do that. And hopefully get some interviews, talk to some people. But yeah, I'm excited. We don't come around here in the Chicagoland area very often. I used to go up to Conway Farms for the BMW occasionally, which is north of the city. Olympia Fields a little south of the city, but we haven't been here very much in the last 20 or so years. This is a 2020 COVID edition. If you remember the John Rahm and Dustin Johnson playoff exchanging absolute bomb putts to settle that one with Rahm coming out on top. Just a war of attrition there, and we'll talk about that as we get into it. Other than that, this is part of this hosted a US Am back in, I think, 2015. I think a women's US Open in 2017, and then all the way back to 2003, Jim Furyk winning the Open there. So we don't come here very, very often. So it's an unusual course. Really kind of going off of what we saw here last time we were here, thinking that that's going to be the setup. Now, more than likely it is. Either way, it's going to be a challenging golf course. Don't have a great sense yet of what they're doing with the rough. The rough was problematic for them last time, and we'll see if that continues to be the case here. But looking over on our site, over on betspertsgolf.com, Ron just populated the preview of the course. You can go ahead and check that out. Let's go ahead and do that together. We'll take a look and see and walk through some of the early looks that Ron had here. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult track. And I love this. You know, we saw even last week, you know, you get a lot of water over at TPC Sutherland and get you into trouble. But just to have water not really be an issue, to have a straightforward setup, because really everything here at the North Course and Olympia Fields is right in front of you. But it's tough. We saw very few fairways here last year. Par 70, stretched outs here, Parkland style. I'm going to play about 7,300 or so from the tips. Ron's got some data in here too. You can see, 7,366 yards from the tips. Classic tree-lined Parkland style golf course. Our greens are a POA and bent grass mix, and thick 4-inch Kentucky bluegrass is what we had last year. Let's see if we have that again this year. But fairways were really hard to find. Ron's got the scorecard in here. Again, this is all free for anyone who wants to go over to betspertsgolf.com. The modeling that we'll do in a minute, that is not free, but this preview is, and I think it's the best in the business. Ron does a great job, and this is even more important this week in a spot where we don't know this course like we do the other courses we typically have in the rotation. This one we don't see very often, as we touched on at the top. But look here. This is what's alarming. You look at tour average good drive percentage over the last 5 years, just a tad shy of 82%. Good drives combinating with basically a shot that can lead from your tee shot and get you on green and regulation off the approach. So you got to have a decent drive to get you there. Or basically a little more than 10%, 46.4% relative difference to a field average event to have a good drive percentage here. Tough. This is a stretching course, so the average driving distance is up a little bit here, as you can see, because we have again, par 70, so standard allocation of how those holes roll. I only have 2 par 5s, but they're both 600 plus. Have some long par 4s. Not one of the par 4s here last time had a scoring average below par. These are really, really difficult par fours. They're not all massive. I think the majority are like 450 plus. There's a few really long ones. I know Ron has that here in the preview. With the same thing, par threes, stretching par threes, 250 plus on one of the holes. Very, very difficult. So again, not a lot of like crazy nuance here. Everything's kind of right in front of you and very basic theoretically, but just very difficult. Hard to find the fairways, very difficult to score out of the rough. You can see the green and regulation percentage significantly down. Green and reg from the fairway, even that is a little bit lower. If you miss the fairway, you are donezo. 41% green and reg from the rough here back in 2020. That is really tough to score. So you're going to have to figure it out off the tee. So kind of obviously, hey, no shocker. At a place that's going to play like a major, long and straight place, right? Long and straight is going to play everywhere, and it's going to be paramount to anyone having success this week. You can see here too, going for the green, even that, trying to be a little bit aggressive, you are not getting rewarded necessarily here. It is a very, very difficult place to play. Ron's got, again, more quotes, stuff in here in terms of, you're seeing 42% of the shots from an approach standpoint from the 125 to 175 range. Part of that is because those par fives are really hard for everyone to get to in two. So you end up getting some of these really short approach shots that are not typical. You don't have a lot of long approach shots here either. You do have a decent amount of plus 250, depending on, again, we have the par three that kind of encapsulates that too. So yeah, it's a long stretching golf course. Here's some of the details on and around the green here. Sand saves, there's a lot of bunkers, a lot of strategically placed bunkers on this course. You're going to have to scramble at some point. You can see here to a lot of like massively undulating greens in terms of, you read some of the quotes that are in here too. And if you watch this, you remember it all from 2020. The greens are sloping all over the place. So it becomes not just finding the green, it becomes finding the right place on the green, so you're not leaving yourself a screamer downhill into a very difficult pin placement. So again, you can go over and take your time, check through this. You see a lot of red here. It just tells you that this Olympia Fields track is going to play difficult as expected. So you can see here, this is what Ron is saying matters the most. So total driving, again, the combination of distance and accuracy. You can model that here, and we'll do that here in a moment. Strokes gained approach, always going to matter. You're going to have to scramble. And you just saw, again, hitting these fairways, hitting these greens is very difficult. Proximity range, 125 to 175. Par four scoring, because we don't have the extra par fives here. You're going to make sure you got to make a little bit of difference on the par fours. Bogey avoidance, good drive percentage. We talked about that at the top. Strokes gained, difficult scoring courses, and we'll, again, be able to model that here quickly. And then strokes gained, putting, and driving distance. Weather looks decent for the week currently, but again, we can check back in. Join us tomorrow for subscribers in our Discord for our office hours. We can get into any of the final questions in terms of betting cards, DFS, any weather-related issues in terms of stacking, anything like that. We'll capture that for you 4:30 Eastern in our Discord for subscribers. Again, this is the preview on the site. You can go ahead and check that out. All right, let's build a model. This is our customizable golf stat database. We will probably come up with a better name at some point. That's where we're at now. Still beta version. We are still working on this in the back end. We are going to continue to add new things next season. This is a pretty heavy workload, but we're really excited about where it is currently. You're able to do and model some stats that you cannot do in other places. I know we have some other familiar things out there in terms of how you can build models. We have some stats that aren't out there. Again, partnering with the PGA Tour here for this, and we're going to continue to add as we go. You can help make the best decisions in terms of making DFS lineups and filling out your betting cards. So pretty straightforward to walk you through it here at the top, just to get a sense of what we're doing here. All right, so it's going to default to all golfers in terms of golfers displayed here, but I put it on the BMW Fields. This is our current week's field for you. You can look at different years. anything you want back to 2016 when we started to get strokes gain data. If you wanted to look at specifically and get into really granular parts of the country in terms of where the courses are, you can do that as well. Course type, we're dealing with a strict, Parkland style golf course this week. But if you happen to want to model TBC courses specifically or coastal courses, link style, all that, you're able to do that here with the database as well. If you want to get into a specific course, you want to look at course history at Augusta, you want to look at Bay Hill, whatever, you can go ahead here, obviously, and select the course specifically. You can see the salaries here are on the side. That defaults to DraftKings. If you want to look at FanDuel scoring, you can do that as well. Two things that work in tandem at the time frame. Here you can get all the way back to the last 5 years, or the rounds played. Pretty standard. You want to look at real recent form. You want to kick it back to the last 50, last 100 rounds, all those things. You can get all the way back here, all rounds ever. You can do that here as well. Then on top of that, we have all the conditions that you can do. Par, length of the course, the event type, round by round. If you're looking at bet first round leaders and you want some sort of sticky data in terms of who's better at round one stuff than others, rough length, scoring conditions, how fast the greens are playing, what surface the greens are, firmness and size, event season. So not just with the region, but you want to get into, hey, who plays well in the early spring. We're on the West Coast. You can kind of select those courses in that event season without getting into course specifics as well. And obviously call course architect or redesigner. We have a lot of Pete Dye tracks. We have a lot of Core Crenshaw stuff, Robert Trent Jones, all those things, the Donald Ross swing. You can go ahead and do that here as well. Pretty cool. And building the model and adding things to your model is pretty straightforward. So let's think about what we want to do here and what matters this week for the North Course at Olympia Fields. It's going to be tough. So we want to model something that is encapsulating difficult scoring conditions. Don't want to get too granular. And I think a lot of times people get really too granular sometimes when they're building models, and you start to get a lot of double counting when you start to weigh stuff, and it gets a little bit noisy. So that's a tricky thing. So typically for me, I want to have less is more, because I think sometimes it gets a little bit wonky if you are, putting too many things in there. So let's jump into this. Good question here first. Our guy back 9 bets, Byron, wants to know thoughts on Adam Hadwin tackle props. Really crossing over. Speaking my love language here. Byron, big tackle prop guy on the football side. Adam Hadwin, 0 tackle props. He was on the receiving end of the tackle prop. But yeah, sub to 4 for 4. If you're playing fantasy football, you're betting on football, get our betting sub to 4 for 4. It gets you everything on the site: fantasy, best ball, high stakes, redraft, articles, tools, all that stuff. 4for4.com/plans. Or DM me, hit me up. I might have a discount code for you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe DM me. All right. What matters here? It's going to be tough. So let's just start there. Let's build let's try to capture some difficult scoring conditions. So we'll filter by scoring condition. Let's look at some stuff that was very difficult or difficult. I'm not going to do any double counting in terms of, making, hey, very difficult or difficult par 70, right? Because then I'm starting to get too granular. And sometimes you get too granular, the sample size of data that you get is really irrelevant. So not only is it can be double counting, but you're getting to a spot where the data that's actually even kicking out to you is such a small sample size over a way too long time frame for it to have any statistical relevance for you. So try to not get too cute with some of this stuff. So but because we don't play a lot of things that are classified as difficult or very difficult, let's just look here this season, basically the last 9 months, courses that have been considered difficult or very difficult. You can see here, most of these guys have around 20, 22 rounds. Who comes out on top there? Oh, no surprise. Scotty Scheffler. It's pretty good. If you look here, he's pretty good at everything. Also not bad at everything. Victor Hovland plays pretty good golf when the the chips are down, when the course gets tough. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do, let's see here. It doesn't even matter because it's pulling the last 50 rounds. I'm going to make sure I don't have anyone that's got anything that's counted the wrong way. So I'm just going to add this column to my custom report. We're going to hit plus. We're going to add it. I'm going to give it a little details. So this is all for you. It's these notes here, how you name this. This is just for yourself. And I'll show you how you can see it later. Difficult, very difficult. This is last 24, last 9 months. And we will add that. All right. I'm going to take that filter off. That's capturing difficult and very difficult. We're playing par 70 golf. That means we're going to have a lot of par fours. So this is where you can get into double counting a little bit in terms of like if we add par 4 scoring. But let's see what we do here. Who is playing really good golf? Let's see in the last 36 rounds. And again, this is arbitrary. This could be up to you. This is why people do modeling and they come out with different things. I really like 36 in 24 rounds because some of these, for the best guys, you're talking about, not, 6 to 9 events. That might even be a little bit big. I do think a lot of times in terms of some of like the baseline stats, strokes gain wise, you probably want to have the longest view in the room, like who has really strong baseline skills. And again, right now we're defaulting to strokes gain views. We have all these other views as well, and we're going to do some stuff with them as well. So right now we're defaulting to the baseline strokes gain metrics. But just who's playing the best golf, par 70s, which we have a decent amount here on tour. Again, this sometimes can bring in some guys that aren't punished by not having the par 5 scoring. And that makes sense. Russell Henley is a guy that could take care of business here on the par 4s. You can see Corey Connors, Young Ann, who's had really, again, not been like at the top very often, but what a great year of a guy kicking around in the Corn Ferry and then made his way here to the BMW, which is pretty good. So let's take a look here. We'll add this. We're going to go strokes gain total. All right, so I'm going to go strokes gain total on par 70. That A is going to bother me, guys. I'm sorry. Par 70, last 36. I'm going to add this to our model. All right, I'm going to take that filter off. So we're not going to count the par 70s anymore. Approach matters. We saw it. Ron said it. We know it always matters. So let's just look here. It's last 24 rounds, strokes gained approach, who's dialed in, and we're going to add that to our model too. If you want, you can add lots of different approach buckets. Just change your rounds. You want to get, hey, who's really short-term form dialed in on approach? 8 rounds, 12 rounds, 24 rounds. You can just weigh them different if you want. You want to get a little bit of capturing that data. Say you want to allocate 30% of your model to approach. You just have to, do that at the end where you just want to give a little bit to recent form and give a little bit more to long-term. So you can do all those types of things here. So playing around with some of these is really cool. Also, another feature too, you can go ahead and click into this, view expert rankings, and you can see what any of us on the site have done. So I'm the only one so far. Again, everyone's on vacation. I don't think Ron's built a model yet. I have an Olympia Fields model here on the site that you can take a look at. So you can get a sense of what am I prioritizing and what has my initial model spit out. We'll take a look at that at the end. We'll do this one live. All right, approach. I want to add approach and last 24 rounds. So approach last 24. We will add that here. All right. Let's see. Par 4 scoring matters. Oh, let's get into some off the tee stuff. Right? We know off the tee matters. We have some things here that you can add to a model that aren't out there in the space. You can add total driving to a model. You can add good drive percentage. I really like distance from the edge of the fairway. Part of this is you can go through this and you can see some discrepancies, right? If we look at, let's look at some driving accuracy. Driving accuracy is a binary yes/no stat, meaning it is accurate in the context of driving accuracy. Is fairway yes or no? And that's great. It tells a story. It's important. Distance from the edge of the fairway tells a different story. that is telling us a little bit more of not just yes or no, did you find the fairway, but like, are you striping it down the middle on average? Or, hey, I could have a no in driving accuracy. I could have missed the fairway, but maybe I just missed the fairway. I'm in the first cut, so it's not, an accurate drive in terms of a driving accuracy measure, but in terms of like still being in play, distance from the edge of the fairway, I think tells a great story. So having those tied together, finding a little nuance in terms of the way you're trying to like capture driving accuracy, you could do that with this tool. And that to me is pretty exciting. And that actually really matters this week. We want to be in the fairways. Like, again, you read some quotes. Again, look at some of the numbers we did at the top. You are in trouble from a scoring and even from a par standpoint if you are not playing out of the fairway here. So distance from the edge of the fairway, I think, is a really interesting thing. Let's go down here for a little bit and just kind of talk through this. This isn't massive, but it's something to me. Patrick Cantley finds fairways, the third highest rate here in this field over the last 24 rounds. Distance from the edge of the fairway, 25th, middle of the pack. So that means sometimes he has a bad miss. He has some bad misses that mix in there. Sepp Straka, great example. 5th in driving accuracy. This is a 50-man field. He is 40th in this field in distance from the edge of the fairway. So we're going to find some here that he is maybe just holding the fairway or spraying him a little bit when he misses. So I think, you get some of these guys like a Brandon Todd that tells a little bit more of a story where, okay, he's accurate and it checks out. Like he's probably down the middle quite often. Whereas, even some spots like maybe last week at TBC Sutherland where there was water in play so frequently, that would make me nervous for Sepp Straka. And again, I know he did really well there the previous year, not so well this past year. But went to the playoff against Zalatoris. But this would make me a little nervous in a spot where, water is even more in play. And again, here, it made me nervous for here too, because we want to be in the fairway to have any chances to score. So I want to capture driving accuracy this week. So I want to do these two things together, and gives me a little bit more of a sense of how these guys are playing. I'm going to kick back a little bit in terms of the size that I want to do for this, but I'm going to add driving accuracy. Last 36. We're going to add that. Oh, my bad. Driving accuracy, last 36. And I also want to do this. I want distance from the edge of the fairway. Last 36. I'm going to weigh driving accuracy a little bit less than I would because I'm going to use distance from the edge of the fairway to do it together. So maybe 10% of the model, I'll give 5 to each. All right. So good drives matter too. I don't want to double count because good drives is going to be a combination of accuracy and approach. And I'm going to do that in a different way here as well. Total driving. I'm going to add total driving because I think that matters. Again, somewhat of it's an interesting stat, right? Total driving it's unique in terms of golf stats. And it is basically just the sum of your ranking in both driving accuracy and distance. So it's not a perfect stat. It tells a story. I think distance matters here because we're looking at, on average, if this was a normal rotation course, like the 5th or 6th longest, I believe Ron said in his preview. It's a long par 70. So, you're going to want to be able to get down there. But again, look, last year's leaderboard, you had Brandon Todd, near the top. You had some guys that finished well because they played from the fairway. So I'm gonna put it in here a little bit, but I'm not gonna weigh it very much. I'm gonna do total driving, and we're gonna do maybe the last 36 here is what we're at. So we'll have it, but we'll be careful with how we weigh it. Let's look at approach. This has some of the general approach in terms of the things that you can add here. Again, some unique stats that you can't model anywhere else. We had basic stroke gain approach already in there. Greens and rag, again, a relatively noisy stat because it's green yes, green no versus proximity and over the field. Same thing, proximity, you can do that if you want to. Going for the green percentage, we saw that's not something that's necessarily rewarded. Are you hitting the green? What's your percentage there? Birdie rate from there as well, or going for the green proximity. So again, unique stats that you maybe have not seen or been able to model elsewhere. You could also break it down into the two buckets, from the fairway and from the rough. Basically, how are you taking advantage in scoring when you are from the fairway, and how are you doing from the specific proximity buckets? And we saw around a little higher than 40% from 125 to 175. You have the ability here, if you want, to add any of these buckets. If you want to get very specific in terms of, I think there's going to be a lot of shots from this range. I want to see who's doing what as of late. Let's just take a look. Some of these are kind of the key buckets that we're seeing. I don't think I'm going to add any of these. You can go ahead and do so, but we can take a look through and see who's performing well. Last 36 rounds, 150 to 175. Keegan Bradley, Emiliano Grillo, Corey Connors. Not surprising. Three, solid names in terms of approach. The list continues with Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland. Again, these approach buckets, these guys a little bit longer. We're going to have a lot of those this week. Vic really good from longer 175 to 200 as well. So this gives you the option to do that. You can do that same thing from the rough as well. I don't think that that's useful this week because you're dead on arrival if you're playing from the rough. So yeah, can you score? Maybe you want to take a look at that. Maybe that's a tiebreaker for you. Again, maybe it's something you add but don't weigh in the model. If you just want to get a sense of who's doing well, you can do all that as well. Around the green, it's going to matter this week. You're going to have to scramble. So let's add some scrambling. Don't think I added scrambling in my original model. I don't typically, because I do think another thing that it's just a little bit noisy statistically. Scrambling around the green is not the same at every course in terms of the layout and the difficulty. So, trying to capture over a large sample is challenging. If you want to get really granular and say, hey, I want to look at scrambling from difficult golf courses, now you're getting to a spot where, look, we already saw, we did 9 months, we had 20 rounds. It's not a lot. So we start to get real granular in terms of scrambling in those situations. It's also really tricky. We kind of capture that in total strokes gained over that period of time. If you kick it back over, say, 50 rounds or 3 years or something like that, maybe there's some signal in there. I think you're probably going to get more noise. So careful with these things. I'm just going to grab some scrambling to take a look because I think it does matter here. And we will add scrambling for the last 36 rounds. Part of it, I just want to kick this out for you guys and let's see what we get. Made one bet. I have some other guys that I like. And I don't think I'm going to make another outright bet. I think I'm a one and done outright guy this week. But we have some other guys that we like, and we'll see what the model spits out and see if it gets my thoughts provoked anywhere else. This is another thing that I love. Scrambling from the rough or scrambling from short grass. Now, this is cool. And again, something you can't do elsewhere. There are certain courses where, when you miss the green, you have some of these like shaved runoffs and you're off the green, but you're not in the apron. You're not in the thick rough around. You're in shorter stuff. Maybe you rolled off a little bit. So maybe that's a little bit of a longer chip shot up versus just trying to chip through some thick stuff, in the apron around the green from the rough. So I think that again isn't something that I'm going to get into this week, but there are definitely tracks where scrambling from the rough matters more. And scrambling from the short grass matters more. And think about some of the shaved runoff spots. We've had it with a lot of like majors the last few years. To get it with Augusta, we had it at trying to think back to JT or at Southern Hills. Like there was a lot of like shaved short runoffs where scrambling from the short grass told a better story than just scrambling in general or scrambling from the rough. So again, something that you can do here at Betsperts Golf with our tool. Putting, if you want to get to the general putting, 3-putt avoidance, 3-putt avoidance from long putts, approach putting, again, just, leaving yourself in a spot where you can, 2-putt easy, let lag putting, capturing that I think is really, really cool and important. You want to get granular in terms of the putting ranges you can do that here as well. I typically don't put putting in very often. There are a few spots on tour on the rotation that I will put putting in, but not very often. Scoring is going to give you the general birdie or better from the fairway, birdie or better from the rough, eagle percent, and bogey avoidance. We saw bogeys are a problem here. Not a lot of places where that are playing under par, so you got to save yourself here a little bit. So we're going to go bogey avoidance last 36. We'll add this. All right. Par 3, par 4, par 5 efficiencies. We're looking to add some of the stats. We don't have all of the ones that we want in here right now, but we are going to work on this. You can see here, you can get the par 4 average and par 4 birdie or better percentage. Again, we're capturing a little bit of that through the par 70 thing that we did at the beginning, because part of that is prioritizing par 4s over par 5s because we have 2 fewer par 5s here this week. But I'm going to add them a little bit, and we can just be careful how we weigh them. Part of it is I just want to, again, I'm going to have more things in here than I typically would. But I want to give you guys a sense of what it can do and how we can do this. All right, I think that's it for me. So I also want to just let's do strokes gains total. I want to grab just some recent form. This is going to spit out Lucas Glover for us for sure, right? No, look at Lucas Glover. All right, last 12. I mean, actually, Lucas Glover probably benefits for us going even further back because, I mean, it wasn't just the last 2 wins. I mean, he had like a 4th and 6th last 24 rounds. He did have a miscut in here. I mean, oh, yeah, he's just been unbelievable. Swamp ass aside, I mean, props to Lucas Glover. Well, maybe not. All right, make sure. I don't have any other conditions on. All right, good. Roy's playing good golf, guys. We're going to go, I want recent form. Yeah, what am I doing? Lucas Glover's going to give us the last 8 rounds, right? Yeah, there we go. That makes more sense. Okay. Last 12, strokes gained total. Last 12. So we'll see he's playing well. These guys are the best in the world. They're here. And I want to give a little bit of a bump to overall recent form. So again, I'm going to hit this create mixed condition model button here at the top. There is if you're new, if this didn't help you, you can watch this little tutorial button here. You can see what happens, but we're going to hit this button and it's going to spit some stuff out for us. Yeah, go up here and name it. So we'll do Betsperts Golf Show Model. Right. These looks like we added 11 things. So it's a little more than I like, but again, we're trying to do something here in particular. All right. So the weights, we will have something here that starts to show you, how your weights, but you got to do some math in your head to start. Again, you can make it easy and just leave it and run this and see what it says. But I want to weigh things more specifically. Again, it's going to default to give you something here. But again, I'm going to go ahead. This is the description part. This is how we name the things. These are the general things. But if you click on this little icon, this shows you the filters. So we were looking at golfers from this field. We went 9 months, but really the last 24 rounds, all courses, very difficult and difficult scoring conditions, total strokes gains. This is what we did here. I want to give this 10%. Par 70, last 36 rounds. Again, you always click on this and see how you broke it down with filtering. Par 70, I'm going to go 10. Approach, last 24 rounds, matters a lot. We're going to give that a little bit more. Driving accuracy, we think it matters as well, but we talked about doing it in unison with distance from the edge of the fairway. So we're going to give that a total of 10%. We're going to give it 5% each. Total driving, I'm okay giving that 5. So we're allocating basically 15% of our model, and even a little bit more, to be honest, because we're doing strokes gained up here total. So we are capturing that somewhere. So again, this is a spot where typically I'm not going to model all this out. But again, I think accuracy off the tee, and some of these things off the tee matter a lot this week. So this is where we're at. I think we're capturing this here. All right. Scrambling, not going to give it a ton. We'll give it 5%. Same thing, bogey avoidance. Like some of that too is, hey, strokes gain total. But I want to get a sense of is there someone out there that's performing worse than I would have thought in terms of bogey avoidance. Where we're at 35. We're at 40, 55, 60. 60 with these last three, so we'll end up bumping up a little bit. I'm going to give recent form a nice little bump. We'll do 10. So I'm going to only do a little bit of these. So I'm going to end up having to add some stuff. So we're at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay. I'm going to give this a little bit more. And I'm going to give approach a little bit more. This should give me 100. You will not have this option, but this is something that I could do to save it for. And you can see I have all my models that I built down here this season that allows you to save them. So you don't have to build them every single time. Also, this is cool too. Go back here. You want to manipulate this data? Download the CSV. You can download it into a CSV and you can build another model, put it into that, and do whatever you want through the CSV as well, which I think is something that's unique and really cool for you to do as well. So let's get back into what we were doing here. Well, let's run this bad boy. Oh, my math's bad. 20, 30, 40, 45, 65, 70. Oh, I need 10 more. Guys, math is so hard. All right. This is what it spits out. Comes pretty quick, too. Maybe not because I have streaming and a bunch of stuff. All right. Patrick Cantley comes out on top. Two-time defending BMW champion. Not at this course, which I think matters. But again, he is, got in contention, got into the playoff last week, playing really good golf. Scotty Scheffler, really no matter what model or things that you're building, Scotty Scheffler is going to be towards the top. Lucas Glover as well. Continues his run of really good golf. You can click on the little icon here if you want to know what your filters are specifically. Russell Henley playing really good golf, and this feels like a good fit, place where it's rewarding accuracy off the tee. Victor Hovland. Again, when you look here and you just want to filter by, prioritize this. This was strokes gains the last 24 rounds or 9 months, basically 2023, difficult courses or very difficult scoring conditions. Victor Hovland second to Scotty Scheffler. So this is a really good spot to start in terms of, where you're looking at this week. Again, you can just click there if you want to just filter by specifics. Strokes gain total. This is par 70s. Last 36 opportunities to do so. Rory, Scotty, Cantley, Hovland. Again, kind of their own separate big four. I mean, Rahm's here. So I think that makes sense. Cantley kind of propels himself into that tier at this time of year, non-majors, difficult golf courses, FedEx Cup playoff time. That is Patrick Cantley's season. He's been very popular this week. You want to go all the way through. We could see, again, who gets rewarded for their accuracy off the tee. Total driving, scrambling, bogey avoidance. Again, no surprise that Scotty is at near the top. This is the model that I did on Monday morning. I have Victor Hovland at the top. Again, fewer things you can see here. I just have a handful of things. I did the same thing. I have very difficult scoring conditions. I modeled par 70 scoring last 6 months. This is strokes gains tee to green, last 24 rounds total. So that's capturing a little bit of recent form tee to green. Approach, just raw, just basic approach, last 12 rounds, just short term. Who's dialed in with their irons right now? And I have the 2 par 4s, as we talked about. the birdie or better and par 4 scoring. And I believe we have total driving here as well. So fewer things for me. Vic on top, Cantley second, Rory, Scotty, Colin, Keegan, Henley, Glover, Xander, Ricky, rounding out the top 10. The fades here this week for me: Adam Hadwin, second shout out this episode for Adam Hadwin, Tom Hoagie, Matthew Fitzpatrick, just not playing very good golf right now. Again, he's showed well on difficult courses. Overall, not really dialed in anywhere else. We kind of saw that last week, even in a spot at TPC Sutherland when TPC Southwind, where he has played well. Didn't really show last week. And current form is not great. So maybe a guy to target in matchups or something like that. Seamus Power, Jason Day, Denny doing his best to make sure he is not on the Ryder Cup team. A little bit of a slide as of late for Denny. I think Sahith Theegala is a really fun guy, and I'm excited to see what happens for the next handful of years in his career. The next time I bet on Sahith Theegala, I think will be the first time I bet on Sahith. I never have a feel for why he's good or when he's going to be good or any of those things. So, excuse me, Sahith is down here as well in terms of going backwards for the rank. So, yeah, I mean, this allows you to see why I ended up on Viktor Hovland. 18-1, boosted, excuse me, 18-1 on Monday morning. It's a lone bullet for me from an outright standpoint. Again, I love the fact that, feel like this is a U.S. Open style event, PGA Championship style event. Who played well in the PGA Championship? Viktor Hovland. Can't go to Brooks Koepka here. He's not here. Hovland's played really well at the majors this year. 7th at the Masters. Again, nice showing at the PGA. Played well. And, the others, I think, just a little inside the top 20 at LACC. So Hovland's been playing really good. Memorial is a difficult track. Long, rough. You got to be long and accurate off the tee. It's a nice spot. He just, again, even last week, really slow start. 72 on Thursday. Puts himself towards the bottom of that field. Comes out, shoots a 64, 65. Friday and Saturday, and gives himself a real shot on the weekend. Just okay on Sunday, but again, was in the mix again, another solid T13 finish, and I just like how he's playing. I like him on this course, and I wish he would have not had the 64, 65, and maybe would have got a 20 or 22 on Vic, but I was mentally already there, and then ran the model and got confirmation bias that Vic was going to be the guy for me this week. Some other guys that I'm interested in, based on just looking at how the model goes, some values in terms of finishing position bets. This feels like a nice spot for Russell Henley. He's playing really good golf. He's also played good golf at major championships this year. And I'm not betting on him to win. That's a really, really roller coaster of emotions, as anyone that's ever bet Russell Henley to win before knows. But a top 10, top 20 here, pretty good prices that are out there on Russell Henley for that. I think we're going to see a pretty good showing from Hideki Matsuyama here. I like him quite a bit. I don't understand why we would get off the Lucas Glover train. I'm not going there at his current betting price of like 35 to win in this field. But look, he's as confident as all can be. Deservedly so. He's piping it tee to green, and the putter is dialed in. He is getting downgraded here for strokes gained on difficult courses. Probably didn't even play many. He didn't qualify for any of the majors. Just wild. But look, the approach game, awesome. Tee to green, awesome. This is par 70s. He's been great. Scoring on par 4s. Just managing it all through, total driving, top 10. Look, if this wasn't weighed at 20%, Lucas Glover's probably just recent form. He's probably even higher than this here on the model. So again, not going there at the current price from an outright standpoint, but finishing position bet again. Yeah. Speaking his Ryder Cup into existence, he needs to, I think, continue to play really good golf the next couple events to lock that up. And I think he's earned himself a seat at the table in terms of at least the discussion. And I think he can solidify that with some good play here down the stretch. Some of these other guys are going to get a little expensive. And again, this is where my model didn't really tell the story as well. But we saw that when we looked at driving accuracy and distance from the edge of the fairway. Sepp is fade for me here. He's not a guy that I'd want to be on. Again, he's been playing better golf, so I get it, but I'm worried about the accuracy off the tee here being a little bit of a problem, even though his accuracy, that metric shows well. So if you missed that part, go back to the beginning. You can see where distance from the edge of the fairway kind of comes up a little shy. A lot of people love Cam Davis this week. I typically really love Cam Davis. In this field, that's a hard sell for me, but finishing position bet, I can get behind that. Max is a guy that I love to click. I want the approach game to be a little bit better. You can see here, same thing with Rahm, just not really dialed in. That's kind of what cost him on Sunday. Just really wasn't hitting greens and rag. Wasn't leaving himself makeable birdie putts. So long and straight typically. And you can see that here, total driving, Max is second. So he's getting a nice bump because of that. But I need more from him right now from an approach standpoint to be able to back him at about 25 in the outright market. So I'm looking for good things for Max, but not going to make the betting card. Corey Connors was outright play for me last week at 70 and got really rolling on the weekends. Really good Sunday rounds. I like him again this week. Did not bite on the outright number, but from a finishing position standpoint, again, I like him to show well at a place that rewards fairways and just, ball striking, fairways and approach game. I sometimes can get a little worried with Corey in terms of scrambling and stuff like that, but hey, 3 straight weeks he's gained in putting. So he's putting pretty well right now. So Corey, again, on my radar. We talked about Benny Ann, like probably a finishing position bet for me. Playing really good golf, hitting it a mile, fairly accurate. You can see total driving. I think he's 22nd, not bad. Middle of the pack. But again, scoring on par fours. I like that quite a bit here. Where does he come into the model that we populated here with some of the other stuff? Got a little bit more statistical nuance to it. Let's just pull the rank in general. You can see here, that was even worse for Matthew Fitzpatrick than the other one. See Woo makes sense too. Again, fairways, total driving, distance from the edge of the fairway. And these are really important stats this week, and Si Woo's top 5 in all of those. Let's see. Maybe not as good for Benny Ann here. Maybe it's better than I thought. Yeah, 12th overall in the model that we built this morning here. He's getting again, total driving, scrambling, been great. Avoiding, look at this. These are really good numbers for Benyon N. Recent strokes gained, par 4 birdie or better, par 4 average, bogey avoidance, scrambling, total driving. So this is it. Distance from the edge of the fairway is where his problem is. 47th in a 50-man field is tough. So this is the knock on him. Everything else is really strong. Again, probably hasn't played in all the majors, or performed particularly well in them. So that's probably why he's getting dinged there a little bit too. So yeah, again, this is available for you to do on your own on the site, betspertsgolf.com. You can, again, you can go over, read Ron's preview for free. I will have my betting card preview up on the site here as well in a couple of hours here on Tuesday afternoon. Some other tools there too. If you wanted to get into our Discord, if you're a DFS optimizer, we're working on the custom simulation, basically a 1v1. You want to look at top Euro. You want to look at matchups and get a sense of who we like. We're working on developing some more nuance to that tool for you as well. But again, customizable golf stat database. You can build the model just like we just did this morning. And I think it's a really useful way to get a sense of who do you like this week, what matters, what do I want to weigh, and how do I want to build my betting card. So my only pick, 18-1, Victor Hovland to win the BMW Championship here. I will have boots on the ground. Follow us on betspertsgolf.com, Betsperts Golf on Twitter. Try to give some content there to hopefully get a sense. We're going to try to get out there tomorrow, get a sense of what's going on with the rough. See if I can talk to anyone, get a sense of how the greens are playing or anything like that. Try to add to some of that for you guys too. So appreciate it as always. for Andy and producer Dan, who are hopefully enjoying themselves. I'm living vicariously through them on vacation while I continue to grind golf and football content for you guys here. Appreciate you hanging out with us this year. Again, you dig in the show notes. You want to get a subscription, $19.99 for a month. We'll continue to cover everything in the swing season. We'll have some cool deals. Again, you want a discount? DM me at Ryan Noonan on Twitter. You want to check us out? Hit me up. I get you a discount for a month and let you play around with it here. Again, Fortinet is coming up. We still got the BMW. We still got the we're going to cover the Ryder Cup. We still have the Tour Championship and all that stuff. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you all again next time. Thanks, everyone.